What would your life look like if you lived every moment with the certainty that your best self was not only possible but inevitable? If you stopped doubting your potential and started activating it? If you walked not as the man you've been, but as the man you were designed to become? Let me tell you something that few will. You don't need anyone's permission to become great. You were born with the blueprint, the capacity, the tools already within you. But if you don't act, if you don't train, if you don't rise, those gifts remain locked in silence. And silence has never built a legacy. Your best self isn't some version you stumble upon. He is sculpted. He is shaped through repetition, discipline, and mental effort. He is born in the fires of decision. Every man who ever accomplished something meaningful began with the same material you now carry, his thoughts. Because thoughts are the seed of everything. You are the master gardener of your mind. And if your garden is full of weeds, if your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and distraction, you will never reap the harvest of the man you were meant to become. Now listen closely. If you're waiting for conditions to be perfect, you'll never begin. If you're waiting to feel ready, you're already late. The man who transforms is not the one who feels most confident. He is the one who moves while afraid, who builds without applause, who wakes up earlier than he wants, trains longer than he feels like, and holds himself to a standard that no one else is checking for. That man becomes unstoppable, not because he's more talented, but because he's more decided. Transformation begins when you decide that average will no longer be acceptable, when you no longer tolerate your own laziness, when you stop using your past as an excuse and start using it as fuel. When you shift from saying maybe to saying must, that is the moment of power. The second you draw a line in the sand and say, no more delay, no more drifting, no more playing small. From today forward, I move with purpose. You must understand this. Your life is always reflecting your dominant thoughts. If you constantly entertain thoughts of doubt, you will see doubt in your results. If you give energy to failure, you will see failure multiply. But if you train your mind to expect growth, to expect discipline, to expect strength, then everything around you will begin to align. The world doesn't respond to what you wish. It responds to what you expect. An expectation is built by what you practice. What you rehearse in silence, the world will eventually recognize. So what are you rehearsing? Are you mentally training for success, or are you preparing yourself for another round of excuses? Because you don't rise to the level of your dreams, you rise to the level of your standards. And if your standards are low, if you tolerate sloppiness in your thoughts, your actions, your associations, then don't be surprised when your life reflects that same energy. But the moment you raise your standard, the moment you refuse to accept less than what aligns with your highest self, everything starts to shift. People will say, you've changed, and they'll be right. Because growth is change, because strength is change, because excellence is change. Your job is not to make others comfortable with your transformation. Your job is to become so focused on your evolution that their opinions fade into irrelevance. The opinions of others cannot build your life. Only your choices can. So stop trading your potential for popularity. You were not born to blend in. You were born to break patterns. Breaking patterns is painful. That's why so few do it. It means letting go of the identity that has kept you small. It means sacrificing comfort for conviction. It means outgrowing conversations, environments, habits, and even people. But understand this, your old self cannot walk into your new future. You must bury him. You must starve him of attention. You must let him go without apology. Because your destiny cannot be delayed by loyalty to your history. Your transformation demands discipline, and discipline is the bridge between the man you are and the man you can become. Discipline means showing up when it's easier not to. Discipline means doing the work when the results are invisible. Discipline means honoring your word, especially to yourself. The man who keeps promises to himself becomes dangerous because he knows that nothing can stop him but him. And that's where real confidence is born. Confidence is not noise. It is not arrogance. It is not volume. It is consistency. It is the quiet knowing that you have built yourself in the dark, that you have paid the price in silence, that you have earned the right to walk into any room with posture, not because they know you, but because you know yourself. And the man who knows himself cannot be rattled by opinions, resistance, or rejection. He is centered, he is grounded, he is ready. You want to know the truth about transformation? It's boring, it's repetitive, it's lonely. It's waking up at the same time, saying no to the same temptations, choosing the harder path over and over again. It's not glamorous, but it's sacred. And the man who honors that process will wake up one day and realize he has become someone the old version of him would not even recognize. Not because he got lucky, but because he was faithful when no one was watching. You must stop negotiating with your lower self. Stop arguing for your limitations. Stop letting your emotions dictate your effort. You are not your moods. You are not your thoughts. You are the master of both. And until you take that role seriously, you will always be a slave to circumstances. But when you take charge, when you claim full ownership, your entire life begins to bend in your direction. Transformation is a war, and the battlefield is in your mind. The enemy is doubt. The weapon is decision. And the victory is identity. You must win the war daily. You must reaffirm your standard. You must reject the narrative that tells you this is just who you are. No, who you are is who you decide to be over and over again until it sticks. And when it sticks, you become magnetic. You begin to attract opportunities, people, results that match the man you've built internally. It's not that life gets easier. It's that you become stronger, more focused, more deliberate, more unshakable, and when the world throws its punches, you're not moved because you're rooted. You've trained for this. You've visualized this. You've made it your reality long before anyone else could see it. You don't get your best life by default. You get it by design. And design is not passive. It is intentional. It is specific. It is strategic. It is fueled by purpose and protected by discipline. The man who designs his life does not wake up hoping. He wakes up building. He does not fear opposition. He uses it as fuel. He does not chase comfort. He creates clarity. And clarity, my friend, is what unlocks transformation. Without clarity, you drift. Without clarity, you repeat. Without clarity, you sabotage. But with clarity, you move differently. You decide quickly. You eliminate distractions. You say no with strength. You say yes with focus. And your entire energy becomes aligned with the future that belongs to you. So if you want to transform, start here. Get clear. Clear on who you are, clear on what you value, clear on what must change, and clear on what you're no longer available for. Then act like it. Walk like it, speak like it. And don't stop. Don't stop when it's hard. Don't stop when you're tired. Don't stop when no one notices, because transformation doesn't happen when it's easy. It happens when it's necessary. And it is necessary now. The man you're meant to be is already inside of you. But he won't emerge through hesitation. He won't come forward through distraction. He won't reveal himself through weak effort. He will show up when you do. Fully, unapologetically, unshakably. You want the truth? You already have everything you need. What you don't have is consistency. What you don't have is full commitment. What you don't have is the audacity to believe that your transformation isn't optional, it's your obligation. And once you see it that way, you will never again settle for less than what you were built to become. Transformation is not about someday, it's about this moment, right now. How you show up, how you think, how you carry yourself when nobody's watching. That is where the blueprint of your best self is either built or abandoned. Most people wait for a breakthrough, but men of purpose create them. They do not wait for perfect conditions, they move. They do not wait for motivation, they decide. They do not seek validation, they know. Your best self is not in some distant future. He is buried underneath layers of excuses, fears, delays, and distractions. The process of becoming him is not about adding more. It's about removing what doesn't belong. It's about stripping away what is false. It's about purifying your focus until what remains is raw, real, and powerful. You don't need to become someone else. You need to remove everything that's not aligned with who you truly are. Every day, the world presents you with a choice: evolve or repeat. Stay loyal to the pattern or step forward into growth. Most people choose repetition, not because they don't want to grow, but because they're afraid of what growth will require. It will require you to change your language, your habits, your schedule, your priorities. It will require you to leave behind familiar discomfort for the discomfort of unfamiliar greatness. But discomfort is not the enemy. It is your invitation to rise. When you feel uncomfortable, it means you're on the edge of expansion. It means your old self is being challenged. That's the pain of growth, your comfort zone screaming for attention as your higher self begins to stretch. Most run back. But you must lean in. Because your next level is always hiding behind what you're resisting. You say you want success, you say you want to transform, but what are you doing about it when it's dark? When it's early? When it's inconvenient? When no one is clapping? That's the test. That's when the real work begins. You don't rise when it's easy. You rise when it's hard, and you still choose to show up. You don't transform when it's popular. You transform when it's painful, and you keep pushing anyway. The man who transforms becomes immune to the noise. He doesn't need applause. He doesn't need recognition. He has shifted his identity so deeply that he doesn't need outside confirmation. His standards speak for him. His energy introduces him. His work proves him. He no longer seeks to impress. He seeks to express, not for approval, but for alignment. And when a man is aligned, he becomes untouchable. You must stop chasing success and start becoming the man who attracts it. Because success is not a destination, it's a reflection. It mirrors who you are being. And if you are being inconsistent, unsure, unfocused, your results will reflect that. But when you decide to embody discipline, excellence, clarity, and commitment, life begins to shift. Doors open. People notice. Opportunities appear. Not by magic, but by magnetism. You have to become magnetic. And that starts internally. It starts with how you think about yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you see your future. If your inner world is full of doubt and confusion, your outer world will be chaotic. But when your inner world is fortified with intention, clarity, and faith, your external world begins to mirror that power. It begins with language. Your words are not neutral. Every time you say, "I'm tired, I can't, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough," you are hypnotizing your mind into mediocrity. But when you speak truth, real truth, you activate something inside you. You say, "I am ready, I am built for this, I am rising, I am becoming." And those declarations, repeated with conviction, shape your identity. They become your internal soundtrack, and your life will always reflect the beat you march to. You must choose your soundtrack carefully, because every time you speak, you either align with your best self or your weakest self, and whichever one you feed grows. You cannot transform without discipline. That is the universal price of greatness. No shortcut, no hack, no detour. Discipline in thought, discipline in speech. Discipline in how you treat your time, your health, your mind, your money, your peace. Because anything you neglect will eventually dominate you, but what you master, you control. Mastery starts with your mornings. Your mornings must be protected. They are the foundation of your day, your energy, your decisions. The man who wakes up with purpose commands the hours that follow. The man who wakes up reactive becomes a slave to his schedule. You must rise with intention, even if you're tired, even if it's hard, because mastery is not about comfort, it's about commitment. And when you are committed, you will find strength others don't even know exists. Let's talk about focus. You cannot become your best self while living distracted. Every ping, every scroll, every mindless click steals your presence, and presence is power. The man who is present sees what others miss. He hears beyond the noise. He moves with precision. Distraction is the enemy of transformation. You must protect your attention like it's gold, because it is. Most men do not lack time. They lack clarity. They don't know what matters, so everything gets their energy. But when you are clear, you say no more than you say yes. You do less, but with more power. You don't chase, you attract. You don't hustle blindly. You execute with calm intensity, and the world begins to notice. Not because you're louder, but because your life is louder. Your results are louder. Your standards are louder. And your standard must become your compass. Not your feelings, not your circumstances, not your past, your standard. Because your standard is what defines your next level. If your standard is high, you will not accept anything less than alignment. You won't entertain half effort, half commitment, or half truths. You will walk away from people who do not respect your path. Not with arrogance, but with clarity. You need clarity like oxygen. You need to know who you are, what you believe, and where you're going. Without clarity, you will drift. You will fall into loops of comfort. You'll forget your power. But with clarity, you will walk through fire if you have to. You will outlast resistance. You will endure solitude, because clarity gives you vision, and vision gives you power. Every day you must ask yourself, is this choice bringing me closer to the man I'm becoming, or keeping me tied to the one I've outgrown? That question is simple, but it will cut through excuses. And when you ask it daily, it becomes your filter. Your decisions become cleaner, your path becomes straighter, and you become lighter, because the man who walks in clarity no longer carries confusion. You will be tempted to go back, tempted to quit, tempted to blend in. But you must remember, your best self isn't built through comfort, it's built through conviction, through showing up when others sit down, through saying no when it's easier to say yes, through staying disciplined when chaos surrounds you, through leading when no one is clapping. That is where strength is formed. That is where leaders are made. Leadership starts with self. If you cannot lead your own thoughts, your own habits, your own emotions, you have no business leading others. But when you lead yourself well, when you walk with integrity, honor your commitments, and live what you speak, then your life becomes the message. And the man whose life is his message never has to raise his voice. His results speak for him. So here is your mission. Live in such a way that your old self would be intimidated by your presence. Become so focused that distractions can't find you. So clear that confusion bows when you enter the room. So aligned that you feel peace even in the midst of pressure. And so disciplined that even when the world shakes, you remain unshaken. That kind of man is rare. That kind of man is real. And he is already within you to be unleashed. But he will not come forth through comfort. He will not come forth through convenience. He will not come forth through shortcuts. He will only appear when you decide fully, completely, relentlessly that your best self is not a fantasy but a standard. And once you set that standard, live it daily, without apology, without compromise, without delay. When a man transforms, he doesn't just change his behavior, he changes his belief. He shifts the way he sees the world and the way he sees himself. And that shift alters everything. The man who once needed proof now walks with faith. The man who once waited for opportunity now creates it. The man who once feared failure now uses it as fuel. This is the power of internal evolution. The outer world bends to the man who has first conquered the war within. You cannot fake this transformation. It is felt, it is lived, it is earned, not by chance, not by wish, not by hoping things will change. It is earned by daily, deliberate choice. It is forged in the fire of repetition. When you rise before you're ready, when you act when your body says rest, when you lead with your standard, not your emotion, when you hold the line even when no one else does, that is when the old self begins to fade. That is when the best version of you starts to rise. Understand this truth. Transformation is not something you do once. It is a daily recommitment. A man doesn't become his best self by climbing a mountain one time. He becomes his best self by climbing daily, even when the summit is hidden in fog, even when the path is steep, even when others turn back. He climbs. Because he is not led by sight, he is led by belief. Your transformation will demand that you leave behind more than comfort. It will demand that you leave behind identity. The identity of being tired, of being average, of being a victim of your past. You must decide that you are no longer that man. You are no longer confused. You are no longer available for mediocrity. You are no longer willing to entertain thoughts, people, or environments that delay your destiny. You are now owned by vision, and vision does not tolerate distraction. A man with vision becomes a magnet. People feel him before he speaks. His energy is exact. His boundaries are clear. His values are unshakable. He walks into rooms and shifts the atmosphere, not because he's better than others, but because he's better than who he used to be. And when you become better than who you used to be, you naturally elevate the world around you. You want to make an impact? Start by transforming yourself, because your life will always speak louder than your words. You cannot preach discipline if you live by excuse. You cannot talk about purpose if you live by default. You cannot inspire others if you are still negotiating with the man in the mirror. But when you rise, when you lead yourself, when you live in alignment, then your voice has weight, then your presence has power, then your existence becomes a beacon. This is your responsibility, not just for yourself, but for every soul assigned to you. Because there are people who will only believe in greatness because they saw you model it. They will only trust in purpose because you lived it in real time. They will only awaken their spirit because your transformation made them question their limits. This is legacy, not money, not status. Legacy is who you become and who you awaken in the process. Do not underestimate the impact of your example. There is no such thing as private transformation. Your discipline will be noticed. Your focus will be felt. Your decisions will ripple. Even when no one says it, they are watching, they are learning, they are being called higher, because you chose to show them what is possible. But the man who transforms never does it for applause. He does it because he has standards. He does it because he's tired of being stuck. He does it because he refuses to die with regret. He does it because the pain of staying the same has finally outweighed the fear of change. And once you reach that threshold, once you are more afraid of not becoming your best self than you are of failing, you become unstoppable. You will not always be motivated, but that's where discipline comes in. You will not always feel inspired, but that's where structure comes in. You will not always be supported, but that's where vision comes in. And when those three align, discipline, structure, vision, you become a man the world cannot ignore. You become the man who trains without an audience, the man who sharpens his mind while others sleep, the man who speaks life when others gossip, the man who takes action while others wait, the man who expects greatness because he lives in alignment with it. And let me tell you, expectation is everything. You do not get what you want. You do not even get what you work for. You get what you believe is already yours. Expectation is not arrogance, it is agreement with your potential. When you truly expect success, you prepare for it. You walk like it's yours. You organize your life around the outcome. You no longer dabble, you decide. And decisions shape destiny. You must become decisive, not impulsive, not reckless, but clear. Clarity is the superpower of the transformed man. He doesn't need to try everything. He doesn't follow every trend. He moves with precision because he knows what matters, he knows who he is, and he knows what he's building. That is clarity. And clarity is magnetic. So now you must ask yourself, what am I building? Not just in goals, not just in income, but in character, in identity, in legacy. What kind of man am I becoming? And is my current behavior aligned with that vision? If not, then it's time to make adjustments, not tomorrow, now. Because time is not waiting for you to feel ready. Life is responding to what you do, not what you say. You will be tested. That's not a maybe, it's a guarantee. Tested by delays, by failures, by betrayal, by silence. But those tests are not to break you, they are to reveal you. They show you what still needs work, what still needs healing, what still needs clarity. Do not resent the test, respect it. Use it, let it refine your focus, let it deepen your character, let it harden your resolve. Because on the other side of that test is power. And when you pass that test, you're no longer hoping for transformation, you've become it. You're no longer studying discipline, you embody it. You're no longer waiting for purpose, you live it. And people will feel it, not because you talk about it, but because you are it. You are no longer the same. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You changed your habits. You changed your thoughts. You changed your language. You changed your environment. You changed your identity. And now, everything around you must shift to match the man you've become. This is the hidden truth of transformation. The world meets you at the level of your belief, not at the level of your desire. You can want more. But if you don't believe you're worthy of more, if you don't act like it, live like it, speak like it, then you'll never access it. You'll circle the mountain for years, wondering why nothing changes. But once you believe, once you expect, once you decide, the door opens. And when it opens, you must walk through without hesitation. You must claim the seat at the table you built with your habits. You must receive the rewards of your discipline without guilt. You must walk with posture, not because you're better, but because you paid the price. You've outgrown the man you were. You've honored the vision inside of you. You've lived with fire when others settled for comfort. And now, you are him. The man you used to dream of, the man you used to admire, the man you used to pray to become. You are now living in that identity, not because it was easy, but because you stayed. You stayed through doubt. You stayed through pain. You stayed through seasons where no one believed but you. And now, because you stayed, you rise. So walk in it, own it, honor it, protect it, and never again settle for less than what you were born to become. Because your transformation is not just about you. It's about every life your discipline will touch. Every generation your choices will affect. Every soul your example will awaken. You are not just a man, you are a movement. And the movement begins now.